Hi guys and welcome back to Car Focus. Now in today's video we're going to be doing a video once again on my recently acquired Mark III SEAT Leon Cupra 300. Now I don't kind of do too much with this car on my social media because I think a lot of people out there just not really interested in it really. A lot of my followers are into their Fords and I think there's a bit of a stigma around VAG cars, so cars from Volkswagen essentially, that they're pretty boring. And I had an inbox from somebody on my Instagram, I won't name any names, but he essentially said he's not interested in this old granddad car, or old man car I think is what he described it as, and that he used to enjoy seeing more stuff on the RS. Well, I just want to put the message across to people in this video that this car, it isn't boring and it's not an old man's car. Now, in my opinion, I've driven all the kind of VAG hot hatches on this MQB platform, Golf R, Golf GTI, which I had long-term ownership with, S3 as well, and I can honestly say, hand on heart, that this is the best car out of the bunch. Many reasons for that. First off, it's cheaper. It's a good few £1,000s cheaper than a Golf GTI, for example, which is probably the closest equivalent to this car you can get. And it's just much more fun than the others. It's more fun than a Golf R, it's more fun than an S3, it's more fun than a GTI, and it also does all the stuff you want it to do as well. It does all the daily duties absolutely fine. It's more than capable of fulfilling day-to-day needs, essentially. So I think we're going to jump in, well we are going to jump in because I'm going to be driving it in a minute, and I'm just going to talk to you about what gives it that extra kind of edge over the competition. Now the first one is being the price, and there are obviously a few drawbacks as well in comparison to Volkswagen, etc. And the only real thing about that is the SEAT badge. If you can handle having a SEAT badge, they've come a long way now though. And the interior, not quite as good as a Golf or an Audi, but it's not far off and it is a pretty nice place to be. But they're really the only drawbacks. I think it's a cracking looking car. It looks quite edgy. I like the sharp lines that it's got. It just looks a bit different. It also flies under the radar, but it does have a few little touches just to let you know that it does mean business. We've got the rear spoiler, the 300 badge, big tailpipes, diffuser, aggressive looking front end, big 19-inch wheels, nice big Cooper branded calipers as well. Yeah, so it just kind of does everything really well, and that's what I want from a hot hatch. And I know it's front wheel drive, but we'll touch upon it on the actual drive of this video. Front wheel drive, to me, it kind of makes it even better. So anyway, enough talking about the car now. Let's get inside. We're not going to mess about, we're going to get straight into a decent bit of driving, and then I'll just explain exactly why this is so fun and why I think it's the best of the lot. Right guys, so inside the Cupra, and I'm going to put it straight into sport mode. I'm not going to go into full Cupra, doesn't really need it on a public road. Go across into manual, and we're going to talk about what makes this car arguably more fun than a Golf GTI, Golf R, Audi S3. Well, immediately, woohoo, is the pace of the thing. Now, it's probably on par with a Golf R, maybe a little bit slower. It's definitely going to be a bit slower off the mark because you've got all the power going up the front and it does lose a bit of traction, but just the way it delivers the power, it just feels so much more exciting and so much more alive than a Golf R. Like, put your foot down. The front lifts up because obviously it's front wheel drive, steering becomes a little bit light and you have to kind of really play around, kind of fight the car a little bit to keep it going where you want it to go, but it does still handle really well. For me, that immediately just makes it more fun than a Golf. I did drive the Mountune Golf R recently and that was rapid, but it just got down the road so easily without too much kind of arguing. It didn't really kick up any fuss. It just literally went, and it was very easy, very effortless, and some might say not very rewarding, whereas with this, you get the rewards. Now, going back to the Golf GTI, the performance, because you can obviously get a Mark 7 Club Sport, which is more comparable with this. I haven't actually driven that, but the Club Sport, you don't get the full kind of 296 horsepower all the time. It's only on an overboost feature, whereas this is 296 all the time, or 300 PS as you want to call it. But yeah, comparing this to the Performance Edition, because this is still cheaper than the Performance Edition, this is just way more alive. I mean, and it sounds so good. Those DSG pops are so loud on this thing. And it being a 2018 car, it is pre-GPF. It doesn't have a res delete, this car, by the way. I've had a look underneath, it doesn't have a res delete, it's full on standard, but because it doesn't have that GPF kind of muffling it, it does sound pretty good. And the crackles on the overrun as well are really sweet sounding, and you just don't get that on the GTI. Some nice little crackles. Yeah, so I mean, it's just generally just more fun to drive. It's lighter on its feet, it feels more kind of eager to get going. It's got DCC, so it's got dynamic chassis control as standard, whereas that is an option on a Golf, and that works really well. So when you change up your driver profiles, if you go into Sport, Cupra, or even individual where you can tailor that, you get the different suspension firmness, and it's an adaptive setup as well, so it's constantly kind of changing the damping as you're going along and riding over various bumps and stuff on the road, so that does make a big difference as well. Now the Golf, I always said it was an absolutely brilliant car. It did everything amazingly, and it was probably one of the best all-rounders out there. Now, it does edge this in terms of its interior quality, as I mentioned before. It's just a little bit more premium in the Golf, like just things like your carpeted door bins, and I don't know, the plastics just feel maybe a little bit more kind of a better quality, just a little bit more superior. Whereas, you know, that's pretty much it. They're a good looking car as well, similar to this. They do look quite sporty, but a bit understated, kind of fly under the radar. But you just get more for your money with this. We've got the digital cockpit there in this car. I know they came in the later GTIs as well. But yeah, less money, more car, more fun. It just makes perfect sense. Now GTI performance, yeah, they are fun to drive on the limit, but they just lack that kind of, I don't know, this has just got a bit more of an excitable personality, and for me it just seals the deal really. And talking of day-to-day comfort, put this in comfort mode, it will cruise along beautifully, let the automatic gearbox do its thing. It's quite a nice box, it's not constantly, you know, hunting for gears and stuff. It returns good fuel economy as well. So you're standing there looking at the Golf and you're looking at one of these, you can save yourself a few grand. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer to pick the SEAT Leon Cupra, to be fair. And then you just get the thrills on the road as well. Very, very capable car. It absolutely flies, guys. It is a real flyer. Yeah, I'm getting this on a back road, chucking it across into manual, and really nailing the throttle and just having fun with it. It just literally returns the smiles, and that's what you want in a car. And it just does it better than what it did in the Golf R and the Golf GTI. It's just, yeah, there's not much more I can really say other than that. I mean, it's just a thrilling bit of kit, really. And if you're in that kind of quandary and you can't work out which one to get, watch this video, maybe compare a few of them, see what you think, but I think this is the one to have. And it also seems to be the rarer car as well. You don't see too many of these out on the road compared to your Golfs and your Audis. And this is basically, this is the same car essentially, it's just a bit jazzier. Oh, that exhaust. We're going to just crack down the windows just a little bit again, because this is quite a good bit to test the exhaust out. Right, we're going to go into first. It's a bit damp, so it's struggling for grip a bit in first, but God, just echoing around these trees, it just sounds glorious. Let's have another go, little bang there. For a standard exhaust, it sounds mega. It really does. And I am loving DSG life, guys. I'm loving paddles. I'm not missing manual at all. Yeah, I feel like you can almost get just as much as engagement using the paddles on this. as opposed to a manual box. Granted, this will do things for you sometimes, like if you are in manual mode, it will kick down for you even if you don't want it to, so that's a bit annoying because the car does have enough torque to really pull it along, but it will just kick down and rev out annoyingly sometimes. But no, the paddles are great. Right, so before we conclude the video, just want to quickly hit a little bit of road that I really like and I've done quite a few videos on before, just to kind of explain what it's like, just throwing it around a few corners. But ultimately, just to summarize with this car, a hot hatch, you want it to do a number of things. You want it to look good, check. You want it to be practical for day-to-day life, check. You want it to be fuel efficient when it needs to be, check. And more importantly, it needs to put a smile on your face, be fun, and just be a general good laugh. And for this car, that is a massive check for me. Now, here we go. So relentless on its power delivery. I think your best change you get manually. I think when you're in auto and you have it in sport, it holds onto the gear a little bit too long and you lose a little bit of power, and then it picks up again when you change gear. But if you do it manually, you can keep it in that power band and it's just a relentless pull. It's got an electronic limited slip differential as well up front, so it won't give you too much grief mid-corner when you want to kind of get on the throttle a bit early to get yourself out and sling yourself out the other end. The brakes are good. I think these are the same brakes as you get on the Golf R and the GTI Performance. Down the gears into the corner, just tuck the nose in, a nice light front end. As you accelerate out the bend, the back becomes a little bit light, feels a little bit playful, which is nice. But it does hang onto the road as well, mid-throttle. Oh, the power out the corner is so good. Again, tuck the nose in. Very responsive, feels very nimble, suspension doing a good job as well, and then out, a little bit of scrabbling over the bumps there, but not too much complaining, and instant immediate power. The surge, even as you pick up speed, the surge just remains there, it doesn't tail off, it's just constant. So yeah guys, that is it. I'm not going to push this issue too much, this video too much. I think I've said all I need to say. SEAT Leon Cupra 300 is ticking all the boxes for me. I love it. I'm going to keep hold of it for a while. I know that for a fact. It's doing the daily duties very well indeed. So yeah guys, from me and the SEAT Leon Cupra 300, until next time, take care and I shall see you soon.